estate planning for small business owners. And I have to tell you that this is requested by demand. And there are situations we know among our clients and the situations in our community, and that become a very urgent question. And as much as we want to pretend COVID-19 add no pressures to anybody, we are all staying at home having a great time, partying with our family members, and streaming, Facebooking, and webinaring, just kind of having a easy learning time. And the reality is not quite so, and there are needs, a huge need out there for small business owners to understand estate planning. And before we get into the content, I'd like to introduce to you about speakers. I myself, I serve on National Taxpayer Advocacy Panel. It is a federal advisory committee to advise IRS. So if you have any recommendations for our dear IRS becoming better agency, or be an even better agency for us, and recommendations will come, send that to me. Subject line is tab recommendations. That's my email address, ying@communitycpa.com. I'm also an author of a book called Appointment with Ying at 8 a.m. And this book audio version is coming up in about 10 days. And it's gonna be audible. If you have the app, and you can download the audio version. And I did ask a French immigrant who speaks English with slight French accent. I love it. And she is the lady that reading the book. So I welcome you to purchase that and learn what I said there about starting up a business. And another person really important today, and Dawn. Dawn is an attorney and at DocuServe, and the DocuServe is right in the same building with Community CPA. So we ended up seeing each other, not on a daily basis anymore with COVID-19, but I have been working with Dawn for literally over 15 years. So he practiced for 28 years. So majority of his practicing time is actually suffering with Community CPA. So I really, I know him, and he is a very dear friend of mine, and also a very compassionate and a dedicated attorney who takes issues, clients' issues to heart. And we always say that as a professional, you want to be technical, you need to be so good with everything knowledge-wise you need to know. But don't you think personality, compassion, and humanity is actually much more important than anything else in this world, especially at this time? So I care about professionals. The smarter people are, the more I look at their compassion and the humanity side of personal quality. And that's what Dawn has offered, proved to have all these years he's with us. And let's go to the next page. This is the page that Dawn advised me to put on. And every single time I talk to public, and Dawn, I have you make a new declaration on this one.
Thank you, Ying. Thank you for your introduction. Very kind of you. When Ying started to do these web seminar, I just want to make sure that people use this as a tool so they know where to go, and then not use it as the legal advice that they need, because everybody's situation is different. So take our information, and we appreciate you attending, but this is not, even though I'm an attorney, this is not legal advice. We just trying to point you to the right direction. So if you should need legal advice on any of these issues, please seek out your own attorney for these matters.
Or seek you out, right, Dawn?
Or seek me out.
Yes. And all right, let's dive into what we really want to talk about today. The word, the big word in our mind is estate. I'll tell you a story. And I was born in China, and China at that time is a communist country. And the word of estate doesn't exist in my vocabulary for my first 20 years of existence. So there's no such a concept about anything that belongs to me that doesn't belong to the Communist Party. Okay, so the result is that you don't have anything. You just, everything is publicly owned. But in North America, and I immigrant to Canada, then I come to US, and I understand something, it was very different fundamentally. That is the word of estate. I still don't even know how exactly to translate that into Chinese, because I kind of left that language after the internet booms, things changing so much. My Chinese is very rudimentary, but the estate concept, I don't think is a complete existence in a communist world. It is us. It is here in United States or in Canada where I work, and this is what the estate is about. Estate is about things that you have, no one can take. So you may say, whoa, then my only estate is my knowledge. I have it, nobody can take. That is so true, okay? And however, estate means the things you have in monetary value. If you just have a knowledge, you have the estate, but there is no value. Imagine if you die, what does that mean? That knowledge goes with your body, right? It doesn't really have value, so you have no estate. So basically, estate is something you totally own and with a dollar sign on it. Then you might say, some folks will tell me that, well, I don't need to worry about that. I'm not Bill Gates, and what do I have? And really, maybe you are not Bill Gates, so you don't have to pay estate taxes, but that doesn't mean you don't have estate. And estate taxes starts on 11.58 million in 2020. So if tomorrow I die and they count the dollars, if it is not getting into 11.58 million, and there is no estate taxes on federal side. But does that mean you don't have estate? No, you still do. And you need to know exactly how your dollars you left behind is being managed. That's what we are talking about today. And culturally speaking, it is very difficult for my parents' culture to deal with estate planning. They flat out don't want to do it because they don't want to plan. They don't want to plan their death. It's almost like they're putting a stamp saying, I'm okay to die. Of course, nobody is okay to die. Even COVID-19 patients are not okay to die. So it is a desire to live, and that triggers some cultures, some people to not want to do estate planning. But remember, I always tell people, if we are an immigrant to this country, other than learning the language so we can communicate smoothly with everybody else, the other thing to learn, it is the culture. American culture include estate planning. And do you know how many trust babies you are working with right now? You don't even know. These people who work in the same office with you, they are the trust babies because their parent already did estate planning, and at their time, the money already come down to them. Tomorrow, COVID-19 comes, the office shut down, they have no worry because they still have trust money coming into their pocket. They can spend, not like you. You would not have salary to spend. You're waiting for stimulus check, and that check never comes, and then you stuck and you don't have anything. So this is where the world we are in is really needing us to understand estate. That's why I label this webinar, we're not providing estate advices for some billionaires, trillionaires, and someone like at the calibers of Bill Gates. We are bringing this luxury concept. Luxury means to people, to real people like you and me, to real people who works $10 an hour and save just one little house. But you don't want that one little house be taxed, be probated, and be lost. You want to plan what you have left. So hopefully your babies and your children can become the trust child. So in case another COVID-32 come and they would still have bread to eat, they can still live their life normal. So this is where I want to I want to make you feel urgent. It is your business. It is your matter. And the estate is everybody's business. It's not just Bill Gates' business, okay? And most regular folks really never even want to talk about estate because they felt like that belongs to somebody else. No, that is what you have right now. Even if you have a little puppy, nothing else, that puppy worth of a plan. And of course, you don't have to get down involved to plan your puppy, but I am saying estate is a cup of tea everyone should drink daily. All right, so Don, I have people ask me questions. So I sort of listed them here just because I want to really just generally, before we get into technical piece of the estate plan, what we needed to do, I kind of want you to just spill the beans here. Tell us, why do I need one? So one of our clients asked, actually wrote to me not too long ago, and he just recovered from COVID-19. He had gone through 20 very dark days, and his word to me is that when you are really sick, you really don't know how to write it down to tell people that COVID-19 is not a flu, and your life is easily can be taken away. And in fact, you want your life to be gone because you are so sick and so alone. So he recovered. So he said that he knew he can be gone tomorrow because of that COVID-19. But he has a business, used to make money, now doesn't. So he wants to know, do I still need a estate planning?
Well, my business is losing money right now is the key. Business is losing money right now. You're not alone. Everybody's losing money right now. Very few of us are staying the same with this COVID-19 going rampant. But the business you built is worth a lot more than a couple months of losing money. And you don't want to lose that. And you don't want to lose any value on the business while it's happening. So do you need to do estate planning? I think everybody needs to do it last year, yesterday. Today is the best day if we haven't done so before.
So one other clients also pointed out that people does estate planning is really for their kids, but she doesn't have any kid. And she said that she will sell her business at age 16, and actually she's early 50. So does she need estate planning?
Well, if you don't have any kids, you sure have people who want to leave the business to, somebody you trust. You want to be able to assign the people who will receive your wealth once you're gone. So even you're going to sell the business at 60, you still need to have that time after 60 in which you're still accumulating wealth because your business is, and the interest on your business that you sell and everything. And with the estate planning, you can assign who can receive the benefits of that when you're gone. Even if they're charities, your church or whatever it is, you have the control of what happened to that estate. So sure, you do need it.
That is so well said. And I actually completely not thinking about continue? What if I didn't die at age 60 and then I still live for 20 more years? Then I obviously want something that I did to produce income continuously. So that is also part of estate planning. So so nicely stated, Don. And what if I have a small house, 5 grown children, but John is disabled from birth? So I want to leave this house to John. I really don't have anything else, just this house. I want to live with 1 children. Do I need to do estate planning? Or I just tell the kids that this house is for John. None of you get anything. What do you think, Don?
You can do that through a will, obviously, which is part of the estate planning. But you really need something like a trust or an irrevocable trust in which the money goes into for John and not for everybody else. If you didn't have a will, if you didn't have any of that, your desire to take care of John will be really severely limited, because without those documents, nobody know what your intentions are towards your disabled child. So in this particular case, I think this is the most important one that we're looking at. You really need to take care of John.
The one on this page, the one last question is that if this business owner, this is a question from a client too, and he has a really large loan with a bank. And but he didn't really, this loan has been on the bank notes for almost 15 years. He couldn't pay it back. It just kind of dragged on till today. And is there any good to set up estate planning to kind of limit the damage per se, if in case that wouldn't be paid back? Is that a thing to do? What do you think, Don?
Well, this is a situation where you don't think there's any benefit to your estate planning because you're in the negative. I'm assuming the huge loan is more than the estate or the actual asset that the company and this person has. But then again, an estate planning will provide you a tool to separate your debts from your asset. And there are tools that prevent the loan, the bank, from getting to your house, to your retirement and things like that. So yeah, but there's benefit even in this situation.
So I really felt like it's really everybody's tool to use regardless of size of your belonging, and that would be a way to do that should be done for everybody. But Don, if someone come to me and saying that, well, that just sounds too complicated and I just have 1 minute to spare on this particular doing, and what would you recommend them do if they want something quick and easy and less maintenance, don't want to do anything else?
Well, everybody should have a will. Everybody should have a power of attorney. Everybody should have healthcare director. These are the very minimum of every living person in this earth. Whether or not you have any asset, anything like that, you should have, simply because you don't want the state to provide the information to how to distribute your money, who will take care of your children, how you're going to be buried, whether or not you're going to be unplugged, if your condition is no longer, how you're going to be buried based on your religion. It's a lot of factors in here that we don't want other people to take care of. Anything that we're still alive, anything that while we're still alive we can take care of is absolutely essential. That's the very minimum that I would recommend that all my clients do. And you'd be surprised. I've been practicing for a long time, and a lot of people don't have a very basic estate planning, not even a will, not even a director, not anything. And we have a term in the legal profession called intestate. That means that somebody died without a will, and the state doesn't know what to do. So there's a set of law that just goes down the list of how this is done if there's no will or not anything from the deceased. So So yes, that would be the very minimum I recommend.
All right. So before we dive into a more complete estate planning that a small business owner should have, and we want to conquer a couple big words. And, English is my second language, Don, so I'm very sensitive to legal jargons. And as soon as I saw some legal jargons, I already raised a red flag in my mind. No, I can't go there. It is too complicated. So I want to use my Chinglish to really break those big words down for people. But I need your help on the probate one. So estate is everything belongs to you. It's yours with a dollar sign. Okay, so we talked about that. Estate taxes, when we say estate tax, it typically refers to the federal tax. So the federal government also some people call that death tax. So when a person dies and whatever the person had in his belonging is paying estate tax. That tax rate is 40% on anything over 11.58 million. Just know that that number is a number that changes all the time. Not only changes every year going up, it also changes by the president, okay? So some president comes in, lower it to 10, some raise it up to 3, lower it to 3, raise it up to 10, so it is all different. Don, help me. I need to.
Okay, let's talk about the I don't know where you're at, but the gift tax is the federal law. Once you can give somebody a gift to a certain amount, and then you have to pay taxes on it. You can't just accept a gift from a person. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, on the gift tax, you can give your children $10,000 each per year, and that would not be.
It's a 15,000 for 2020. So let me work on the taxes. So the state tax is the federal tax. The gift tax is also federal taxes, and that federal tax normally you don't pay gift tax until you give more than 11.58 million. But you must file. You have to file for the gift tax you give to your children. And that is a 15,000 for 1 year for each child you have. So that's the gift tax. Then we also have a state estate taxes. State estate taxes, and like, I'm using Minnesota as an example. So in Minnesota, state tax you for estate tax if you are going over 3 million. And Iowa don't have state estate tax, but it has inheritance tax. So that one goes from 5%, 10% to 20%, I believe, depends on your relationship. Let's say if mom goes to the son or goes to the daughter, no taxes at all. But if mom goes to the sister, there will be a tax. So it is by relationship. And all of these tax, folks, I want you to remember. And even if you are not paying taxes, that just says that your estate not big enough, but that doesn't mean you don't pay probate. That doesn't mean you don't have a need for estate planning. So Don, can you explain about probate charge?
Okay, we have to have a little bit of history on probate. And the old English law, the king has authority over real property. So common people don't have real property. They can live on it. They have the right to it. But when they die, it goes back to the king. So the law was made so the king has the authority to continue his dominion over other people by assigning the property again. So that's how the probate law was formed. When it become part of the United States law, is because the court has authority to divide the property of a deceased person. So what we want to do is avoid the probate as much as possible. I mean, rich people don't have probate. You don't see Bill Gates or somebody, Rockefeller and things like that going through probate because they simply don't want people to know what they have and who received the product of their wealth. And it's a confidential thing, number one. Number two, it's very costly. When somebody dies and they have to go through probate, you have your court fee, your executive fee, your attorney fee, your accounting fee, and everything else that come into probating. Probating means that somebody is responsible for the estate. They have to calculate how much is there through evaluation, appraisal. They have to seek out the creditors. They have to pay everybody up. They have to finance for everything else, and whatever is left, they distribute that to the children through the will, assuming they have a will. So the key here is you can count on 3 to 8% of what your estate going to probate, and especially for a smaller estate, the percentage is higher because there's code on how much attorney can make. But also they can file for extraordinary fee that will give them the ability to receive a lot more than the percentage that they're supposed to get paid.
So basically, Don, my understanding is that a probate fee comes in, it's kind of in the nature of administrate your estate. If you died without any instruction, then the court, the attorney will make decision for you, and in their mind is the best interest for your children or people who are going to receive your estate. That administrative fee, it is calculated on your total value of the estate. So a simple example would be if you have a home worth $1 million and you borrowed $800,000 on mortgage and you have $200,000 paid in for equity. So really what you are thinking is that once you got the estate distributed, you're gonna sell the house, pay the $800,000 to the bank, then you got $200,000. But the reality is that the probate fee could cost you as much as 10%. So what's going to happen? 1 million times 10% is 100,000. So you have $100,000 fee to pay, and you only have $200,000 equity. So you're going to end up most, if you don't count on selling house for the commissions that you have to pay, then you're probably going to end up with $30,000 at the end with 7% commission, 10% probate charges that you already need to pay. Then what, $1 million home ended up with $30,000 cash in your pocket. So this is an extreme example, but Don, did I illustrate the point correctly?
Yeah, that is an extreme example, and most of the time it's not that way. But I just want to clarify some point. First of all, if you die without a will, the attorney doesn't make the determination of how to distribute the money. There's a set of law that will go down the line and say, if you have children, if you don't have children, and who else get the money and all that stuff. So the attorney don't make that determination because there are codes that already determine that. But the expense of doing that is a lot higher. If they have to publish, they have to find out the heirs, and they have to, So what you want to do is to avoid all these expenses. And the key is time. If the case is complicated, it could take years. Sometimes probate could take years, and then your children or your beneficiaries don't get the money until much later. In the meantime, it's just being held without any benefits to your children. So yeah, estate planning, we gotta avoid this probate thing. I think that's the key.
So estate planning, in my own way to express it, it is literally a tax planning. It is planning for you when you die, you don't end up paying taxes or probate fees for what you saved. But the other key point is that to make sure that what you give to your children is not going to be taxed unfairly. So these are, it's literally a plan, just like how we do annual tax planning for your income, and that you get to do it for as many years as you live, right? You do income tax planning at the end of the year. But estate tax planning is at the end of the life, and you want to prepare for that and plan your estate. And the content I have on this slide is sort of already covered on the other slide, where we talk about the big words in estate planning. And one key things I want to point out to you: when we talk about estate taxes or gift taxes or Minnesota state estate tax, those are the tax dollars out of your estate, including probate. That is a deduction of the size of your estate. So as a beneficiary, you're not going to be writing a check to pay for that, because it will be paid by whatever maybe mom and dad left, okay? And however, in Iowa, the inheritance tax, that is not a estate paying for it. It is you as a beneficiary pay for it. Say if this lady passed away, the sister take over what she has left over, then the sister would pay for inheritance tax. So this is where I want to make the concept really clear for us, so we know when we talk about saving money, and we're not just talking about saving beneficiaries money so they don't pay taxes, but we're talking about saving the money on the estate itself, so everything you left can be going into your children, going to the people you care. So now this leads me to a concept of building a house to protect your estate. Like say your estate is your business, your estate is your savings, and so these are things that we want to protect. We don't want it to be charged with probate fee. We don't want it to be taxed unfairly, and so we want to build a house to do it. When I say build a house, here I reference that to be a building making a document. It's called Family Living Trust. And this trust, you can give all kind of name. You don't have to call it Family Living Trust. You can call it, Living Trust of whatever, and you can give a name. So it is just a name, but the nature, I guess Don's legal definition of that document is called Family Living Trust. It is becoming a set of papers, a set of directions that takes care of everything during and after your death. So, Don, I want you to help me to go through the content of a standard family living trust.
Thank you. The main thing about the trust is an entity by itself. You go to the bank, you register the bank account under the name of the trust. The trust is kind of like Ying said, it's a house that houses everything that you own. Why is that important? Because you have total control of the trust. What you do is you name a trustee. The word trust here is the key. You have to name a trustee who has total control of that trust. He or she can distribute the money, sell, whatever it is, give it to the children, whatever it is. So if that trustee should be gone, the succession trustee has the same power. So that's how you avoid probate. Because if you have everything you own in a trust and you pass away, the next succession trustee is put in your shoes. that person has the power to control the whole thing in the trust, which means the court doesn't have anything to do with it. That means that the public will never find out what's in the trust. Then there's tax consequences, and nobody's business what's in the trust and how you distribute that trust or keep that trust forever is nobody's business but yours. So your death is a non-event as far as the trust is concerned, other than a change of trustee, assuming you are the trustee of the trust at the time you die. But you don't have to be the trustee of the trust. You can have somebody else do that while you're living.
So can the trustee be one of the well-behaved child of the parent?
Absolutely. There's no limit to who can be the trustee. But you have to trust that person to be a trustee. So often people would have their eldest kid to be the succession trustee, and the spouse to be the co-trustee. You don't even have two trustees in this situation like that. So you don't even have to disband that trust upon death. You can continue with that, and then it goes on forever, and the trust just built in well. And then no matter what happened to you physically, that trust remains.
So in this slides, and you can see that the content of that document is the schedule of asset and the final will, HIPAA authorization. This is related to the medical side of business, living will, and this is while you are living and what you want to do if you are if you're in the certain stage of health and you can't make that decision anymore. And the POA assigns someone to manage your personal and your business responsibility. So see the structure of the houses here. It is represented by what we call the family living trust. And you can set up that structure. It's like building a home. After your house structure is up, and your next thing is to furnish your house, like put in furnitures, making it full. And so what's in here is what I call that Community CPA's 5 wealth mix. We are Community CPA, we are a CPA firm. Obviously, we're not your financial planners, okay? And we don't want to be your financial planners, but what we want to be is to tell you the balance of all of the people, the business owners, successful ones, what they do to have a very well balanced furnishing in their house. So there's a 5 component, we call that 5 wealth mix. It is life insurance, where we recommend small business owners to not only have one for yourself, the beneficiary is your family member. You should have one for yourself. The beneficiary is for your business. So that is really important. That is something that we recommend small business owner to do. And if you think you're only going to be in business for 15 years, then you just buy a term. That's not expensive, but in case something happened to you, the money would come to the business, allow your business to go on for a number of months or years, so that your kids or your spouse can come in to know what to do and have time to do that, right? Then the other one is real property. Real property is another mix. And you should have real property, you should have retirement money, you should have precious metals. And why are you not having it? Those are the ancient method of feeling safe. And currency is made out of paper. Precious metals are made of precious minerals. So that is not something the inflation would kill. So you want that. Then stock market investment. I know you're gonna say, boo, I don't want that, and I lost a lot of money, but that is a mix that you should have inside of your house. So this particular mix is referencing back to the schedule of asset. So this is where you want to build your muscle of your wealth. And those are the 5 mix that we mentioned to you, and we want you to know what we are advocating. And inside of your house, you would have to address household issues. So there are three types of issues I want Don to walk through us on this three. Number one is family-owned business. Number two is a business with partnership. Number three is a succession plan, and for family, maybe I want my son to take that over, but what is the succession plan? So this is what we call the household issues that you need to figure out. The reason we say that, it will constitute as part of your directions inside of the trust. So if you are not here, or tomorrow you lost all your memories by those newly invented COVID-19 vaccine, you know, the one that Trump mentioned, and then you can rely on the instruction that you made today to still go on with your business. So now, Don, could you lead us through with these three areas of household issues? The first one would be small business, the family-owned business.
Okay. One thing to understand is once you put the property into the trust, it's become part of the trust, but it doesn't change the characteristic of the property. If you have a business that has a operating agreement between the partnership, everything stays the same. The leases, the rental agreement, the purchase agreement, everything stays the same. So think of it as a place to put your stuff. But if it's not your stuff, you can put it there, but eventually it's going to come out. If you should have a dispute within the property because of the business doesn't 100% belong to you, the trust can be sued. So they can extract their portion of the trust out, just like a person, okay? So that's the number one thing I want to understand. When you put the property in the trust, it doesn't change the characteristic of the property. If you have a property that has, you know, a mortgage on it, which most people do, the mortgage is still there. It doesn't change. You still don't own 100% of that, okay?
So related to the family-owned business,
right.
Under the household issue, Don, a lot of time I see my clients, you know, they have multiple children, but only one kid really interested in the parents' business. And so should that be addressed in the trust document to make sure that this kid receives the business, but the other siblings should be treated in different ways, so they're still fair, but protecting the business to go on with this one child who is really good with managing it?
Absolutely. You can put that in the trust as the characteristic of that business alone. Okay, so you can specify which child you want to have the business and how the rest of them would be compensated because of that child. You don't have to, but most of the time you want to be fair to the other children. Say the business is worth $3 million. And if the youngest, the oldest child wants the business, then we have to calculate how much of a share to give to the rest of the children. So there's some expenses involved. If somebody should say, I want my money out of the business, then the trustee has to figure out how to calculate that amount, which probably involve an appraisal and things like that. But yes, people do that all the time because not all of our children want to do the same thing as we do.
So we had one client very successfully manage this part because the business is actually owned by the couple, but they have 3 grown-up children. Only the youngest one wants the business. So the business was valuated at $3 million at the time, and they want to transfer that business into the trust. So what happened is the youngest one would pay $1 million to the other 2 siblings over the 10 years time. So that become a steady stream payment out of the trust going into the other 2 children. So I think that's a way how they can address the household issue related to multiple children and only one interested in the family business. And then the other one, Don, you already kind of touched on, which is the partnership. And very often I see the trust document would have a special section for buy and sell agreement. And I see them more related to, let's say if I partner with you, Don, we don't belong to the same household. So my portion is in my own trust, yours is in your own, but on my own document, on my own trust document, it will have a buy and sell. Say if I'm gone and you would have the first right to purchase that business. And so, or otherwise, if you are gone and I will not let your spouse to have it and I want to be the first one to buy it. So that kind of agreement can be done in the living trust.
And back to what I was saying, because I thought you were going to put the slide up first, but then anyway, back when I was saying the status, the characteristic of your business. So this is a lesson. If you have a business with a partnership or multiple owners, you had to make sure of the exit agreement. If somebody dies, if we distribute this, for whatever reason, bankruptcy, death, or just business didn't do well, or you got an offer of $2 billion from some company, how do we exit this business? And that's very important. It's actually doesn't relate to the trust that much, but it's related to how you do a business when you have multiple parties involved. So for whatever it's worth, that's important. That's part of your business. It's very important. You got to spell out exactly who owns what and how we do deal with the separation of the partnership or the business owners.
So the other one is succession plan, Don. My way of explaining this plan, this is part of the document inside of the trust for small business owner as well. This is more like a operating plan for the time you are not there. So I see the parents are writing succession plans for the children and in the trust document, so which will lay out the structure of the business, what kind of training must be done, and when the kids take over the business, compensation to the key employees, how much you need to raise in order them to stay for longer. So that succession plan is also a very valid trust document for the living trust of the small business owners. Am I right, Don?
Absolutely. I have nothing to add to that.
All right. So then we talked about to furnish the trust document, the house, which was the 5 wealth mix. Then we talked about family household issues that within the trust document, where we covered if it is family-owned business and only one child out of the number of childs interested, what you can do, that can be in the trust document. We talked about if it is a partnership, that should be buy and sell and exit agreement should be in there, and the succession plan. So whichever ones that you feel that fit you, that is really, we're just wanting to give you the ideas of what you should have in the trust document. And then here, the house, just like a real house, you have to visit it often and you have to bring people in. So once you have the trust document, we believe that you should bring the housekeepers to come in to sit with all the beneficiaries in the trust, mom and dad, whoever, and to really understand the concept of the trust. And not only that, and you also need to make sure when the tax law changes, the state, federal level things changes, or maybe you got divorced, maybe you got a new child, maybe you adopted a new puppy, who knows, your life event. Every time when you have these kind of things, you need to automatically and look through your trust house to see whether there's something you need to update. This kind of require you to never do a project or do a one-off job with some attorney, some office. Oh, I just gonna do trust with you. I don't know you, and I'm not gonna come back to see you again. And here is my money, and you do trust for me. That doesn't work. And the trust is not something you can do without coming back. So we say you visit your house often, you bring others in to know what's in there. So here lead me to a talk about how do you find that right housekeeper. And knowing that I don't believe having a estate planning is a one-off subject or event. There is no such a thing you can say, oh, I'm done with estate planning. You know, I take it back. You do have a chance to say that. It's the minute before you die. So you can say you're done. And otherwise, it is never going to be done because the, president changes and the law changes and who knows, maybe fall in love with some other people and then got more child coming in. So there's life going on. That's why it's called living trust. It is still you live and breathe, have a life. So you need to keep that as almost an ongoing thing and becoming part of your lifestyle. I always tell people that my clients in Community CPA, a lot of them, they have a lifestyle because they know to come to us at the end of the year to do tax planning. And how many of you today at the seminar has never done tax planning every year? And if you have never done it, you haven't even formed that lifestyle yet. And estate planning is absolutely a lifestyle. So you want to keep it going all the time and bound. So to find that right housekeeper, it is not a one-time thing. And if I don't know you, I don't know your family, you come over and just say, hey, Ying and Dong, get me a estate planning. And I will give you an hour and I will be disappeared until the moment you got to notice that I die. No, that would be a wrong way to do this. And it is a personal relationship with your housekeeper. And it can be attorney. And it is, don't correct me, the housekeeper can be attorney, can be CPA firms, can be anybody. Isn't that true? Can be themselves too if they don't want to hire anybody.
Yes, that's true. But there's certain, caveat for doing it yourself. Most of us are not specialized in a certain field, and that's why we have professionals doing these things for you. But my recommendation is you have to have people that you trust. Therefore, it's the word trust coming back again. And the people you trust, whether it's be the trustee or the housekeeper or the executor, anybody, they have to be that trust. And we're here to hopefully build that trust to you and to all our clients and everybody else. I think that trust, once you talk to Community CPA, when you talk to me, when you talk to people that you can trust, is invaluable. That's after all is said and done, the trust is the most valuable part.
So the other things I want to mention to you is that you always want to look, when you work on estate planning and working on your living trust, and you really want to identify a company rather than just a person. Just because if it is not COVID-19, maybe we think of it less. But with COVID-19, you know how life can be taken away so easily within such a short time. So if you trust this attorney, you trust this CPA, but what if this person is not going to be there after catching COVID-19? So I always say that you want to identify a company, identify a culture that can carry it with a name. So I want to explain to you that how exactly Community CPA be the housekeeper for some of my clients as a for their estate planning. So we work with clients that we knew for years. So we really don't have clients that just coming into the door to do estate planning. They're always the client that has already been with us and knowing us, then had the desire to do it. So we work with clients that we know for years. And updating on laws and regulation is part of our peer review process. So as a firm, we actually going through peer reviews. Peer reviews means another CPA firm who are qualified to be the reviewer would come to Community CPA, making sure that our training is there, our documentation is done right, and our quality control is good. So all of these requirements the government has, the professional organization has for the CPA firm, we will meet that. So this is part of our daily life, and we live for it to be compliance with all of these rules and regulations. And we keep our clients' file forever. And right now, I just took a look at my files. I want to figure out how many generation of clients we have been working with. And what I have find out, and I have already have the third generation. So the grandparents, the parents, the kids are here. So third generation of people's file are here. So our file is stored electronically in our private server. So it is duplicated in the cloud, so it will never get lost. When I say in the cloud, it's not really up there in the sky. It is actually underground in the bunker, and we purchased the storage room and we have them secured from nuclears. So that's the level of the storage we have. So we work to build this trust estate planning work for you, and we have a 5-year timeline. We are not building it in 5 hours so you're done. And we work with our client in a 5 years period to build this house. So to have this house with all the amenity you needed and with all the concerns that are addressed. And we actually review that on the tax preparation time, which is the annual income tax review planning time. We actually bring the estate planning coming to the table. And so now, and we have been here for 25 years already, and we have our third generation of clients with us, and we have a history, and I truly believe Community CPA has a bright future. So with that, I always say that we should be the one, and you can consider us to be your housekeeper, and you can today, starting from today, think of what is the best way to plan the future that belongs to the people you care, and you plan it in your lifetime and let it go, let that carried on by the people that you care. This is really what the best part of being a small business person, and then you have something to pass on, and you have that legacy to stay with your generations to come. And it's through the estate means to do that. There's no other ways to do. So we hope that this seminar actually do offer you some understanding of estate planning, and then not to be scared away by big words. And you know Dawn, and you know Community CPA, and we welcome you to give us questions. We are right at 1 hour mark, so I will conclude the webinar. And remember, folks, it is every day at 3 p.m. Community CPA has something happen, a webinar, and I normally do Thursday and a Saturday. On Thursday, I typically have a guest speaker with me. And the Tuesday and the Saturday, I normally address what's really pressing. And at the present time, you can email questions to dan@communitycpa.com, and our office is virtually open. We are not open physically on Ingersoll and in Coralville and in Minnesota, Bloomington, but all of our staff are working virtually and 8:30 to 5:30. And Don, he works 24/7. There is no time limit, and you literally can knock his door and he's always there. And one thing I say again, when you look for someone to trust, look for the person with integrity, compassion, and humanity. And that is really beyond all the professional standards and the knowledge a person can gain, but that quality of being a human, you don't learn it at school, and you just have it. So I know people in Community CPA has it, and I know Don has it. And goodbye, and thank you very much for listening to us. And you know we love you all, right, Don?
Thank you.